welcome to another episode of Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, SET, and this is episode 19, coming to you on February 19th. It's very serendipitous. I'm loving it. Welcome to all of my new listeners. If this is your first time tuning in, Bridging the Gap is a show where I interview talented artists and people in and around creative industries. We talk about their journeys, their creative processes, specific projects they worked on, inspirations, challenges, all of that stuff. There's no bullshit. It's just honest and open discussion between myself and some very talented people. As always, if you're not already following, please make sure to follow us on Instagram at bridging underscore the gap pod, bridging underscore the gap pod. That's the best way to stay up to date with whoever my next guest is going to be and anything else that I might want to share relating to the show. My guest today is Jessica Udeh, and I've got to shout her out, first of all, just for being one of the homies, but for also being a real one. Jess is an extraordinary talent. She carries a lot of titles. She's a visual artist, a creative director. She DJs. She's a community builder, an event manager. She does a lot, and she carries it all with grace. And I really wanted to have her on the show because she's the type of person that's going to give it to you straight, no filter. And she's someone that I also really respect because of how she handles her business and also her approach to surviving and thriving in the creative spaces that she inhabits. So we had a really fun conversation. I think we got to touch on a lot of stuff. And yeah, I'm excited for you guys to listen. So let's get it. It's time to bridge the gap with Jessica Udeh. And we are back with another episode 2 of season 3. I think this is like the 19th episode overall. And I'm really excited because my guest today is someone who doesn't have to say, I am a creative or I am a creative person, because she kind of just exudes it in every aspect of her life. And she's someone I know that has a lot of valuable insight to share in a bunch of fields. So I'm really excited to be joined today by Jessica Udeh. She is a visual artist, a creative director, event manager, community builder, DJ. She's a DJ, an amazing, sick DJ. So yeah, welcome to Bridging the Gap, Jessica.
Thank you for having me. That was an excellent intro. I'm like, is he gonna remember that you did?
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
I tried.
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
No, happy to have you here. Happy to have you here. I like the fact that these conversations are happening at the top of the year because I feel like I'm catching everybody in a reflective mood. So it's nice to have people like you here and really speak on the various facets of everything that comprises like your creative practice. And for me, the first thing I ever encountered from you artistically was collage. And I mean, I thought your work was sick. That's how I sort of got into your orbit and, started following you on social media. But I'm really curious as to why collage is the medium that you like gravitated to. I have my own theories on it, but I'd love to, hear your perspective.
Um, to be honest, I think collage is such a, how do I word it? When you think of world building, I think of collage because it's literally taking things that already existed in certain contexts, in certain spaces, and creating a new meaning with them. You know, I like the idea that it kind of shatters the idea of permanence because just because this portrait was taken and maybe it's associated with whatever editorial blah doesn't mean that that's the only medium that it can exist in, if that makes sense. So I love being able to play with scale and like honestly it's a bit funny making really really big things really really small or really really small things really really big or just putting like a banana on somebody's head. Like I love just flipping narratives and creating new imagery from something that already existed.
See, that's so interesting to me. And I think what really stuck out is you said like it's destroying permanence. And I think, well, you're someone that's kind of similar to me in that, first of all, we're both from the DMV. So I got to shout you out because I think you're also the first person from the DMV to be interviewed on this show. So yeah, that's what's
Shout
up.
out Pretty Girl County.
So yeah, but then you've also been able to live and work and operate in so many different spaces. And to me, I found it interesting that like collage is one of your main mediums because I see it personally as like a microcosm of your creative practice in general, right? Where you're taking all these different parts to make up the whole. And you're constantly shifting narratives in your work and helping other artists like shift narratives. And I think that's really cool because when I see how your work now enters other people's spaces and how you make it work and how you're able to like flip stuff on its head, even with like, let's say soundscaping, right? I find that really interesting.
Thank you. And, I wanted to always, not all of my collages have soundscapes attached to them, but a couple of them do. And I wanted, and even back to this essence of world building, like I wanted my collages to feel like something you can literally live in. And every world has a soundtrack, or like maybe it's not a world that has a soundtrack, but even you, like as you're walking, I'm sure there's like a song right now that you have that's your go-to to like that soundscapes your walk or maybe your commute or whatever. And so for me, the soundscapes are that like, what is the anthem of this world? What is the ethos of this world? And how is that manifested sonically? You know what I mean?
I love that because I'm definitely the type of person like I basically live my life like I'm in a movie. So I'm always playing music to soundtrack certain moments. I'm the type of person where I'm like, hold on, I need to find the perfect song before I do this.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get that 100%. Like on a more technical level though, when you're putting together a collage, like what is your actual process? Does it start from a reference image? Does it start from just a feel? Like how do you even start that process?
It really depends. Sometimes it's that I just saw an image and I was like, you know what? This is just interesting. I want to do something with this. And then other times, like I have a collage called Trouble at the Border that also has a soundscape. And at that time, it was really dawning on me just how bad political strife was in Nigeria. And so even, I mean, the through line of my work is shattering isms, specifically as they relate to West Africa. And so for me, when I was making that collage, I was just like, what are all the things that I wish I could tell my elders or the people who are in these positions of power? Like, if I was not afraid of being shot on sight, what would I say, And so that's kind of what birthed that. But other times it's just as simple as this model is really hot. I would love to see what she would look like in an ocean or something.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that kind of juxtaposition because, yeah, I guess there's times where you really have something like weighing on your soul that you need to speak on. And there's other times where something just speaks to you in a really different, but not so deep way.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you're able to choose both of those and see where both of those paths take you. I have a question that I always like to ask creative directors. And that question is, what is creative direction? Because I feel like it's one of those things where you can kind of apply the label to yourself, and there's not a like there's no checks or there's no course that you're taking
Right.
where it's like, well, I mean, there could be, but there's no like certification that's like I am a creative director, like I'm a doctor, or even like I'm a baker, right? So, what does creative direction mean?
I think creative direction, like just umbrella, is understanding context and marrying that with aesthetic. Like to me, I've had to learn that it's not always about my personal taste. I've worked in different departments of production where I'm like, maybe I'm the creative director, but I'm assisting styling. And so I'll have to think, it's not about what I want to wear. it's about this character or this model in the context of blank, whatever that theme is. So I think that's really it. Like, if creative direction is being able to say, this is the energy, this is the mood, and this is how I would go about imagining that or evoking that, through little elements such as sound design or set design, or even down to like color grading. I feel like a good creative director has insight in how all of these things play into part.
I think that's a beautiful and succinct way of putting it. And I love that you started with, you need to understand context, right? And you've already kind of started answering what my next question was going to be, which is, how does your approach differ when you're creative directing your own personal project versus a project you're being commissioned for?
You know, right now, as I'm transitioning into music, I feel like that's the perfect example of that difference. And, when I'm doing creative direction for other clients, there are questions that I ask them, such as, and this is after step one, maybe I've created like a draft or whatever, or provided a brief to explain what I'm thinking. And it's, how does this communicate? Like, what does this say to your audience? Do you feel like the target demographic that you had in mind is being reached? Why not? What are the elements that don't feel aligned, and what are the ones that do? Like, those are the questions that I'm asking other people as it pertains to their work. And when it comes to me, it's a bit hard because I'm a bit all over the place. Like, as I'm working on the direction for my current project, it's like I have an ethos, but it's hard to rein it in because it's just me and I have so many ideas. Like, there's no guideline, if that makes sense. So I'm having to create
Yeah.
my own, what's the word?
Boundary?
Curriculum or bound. Exactly. I'm having to set those parameters for myself. And it's not difficult, but it's different, I would say.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense because if you're working on your own thing, the only limit is your imagination and I guess like a budget, right?
Yes, exactly. The possibilities are literally endless. That's the problem.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand. So, okay, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And we're going to talk about the music a bit later because that's something I do want to touch on too. So, you're all over the map, literally, like Paris, London, Lagos, New York, DC, LA, like the whole world, right? How do you stay grounded when you're doing all these different projects in all these different places? What are some of the practices that you use to keep a level head in the midst of everything?
I will attribute it to two things, and one of them is spiritual fortitude. I will say I have an unshakable spirit. I thank my mom for that. I thank my father for that. Like, I'm glad that I learned at a young age who I was and not to alter that regardless of who I encounter, because you meet people in this industry who have been eating shit for their entire career and they want you to now come and join them. And it's like, I'm not doing
100%.
that. And I also think having amazing, real human friends that I've known forever. Like, that meme that's like when you call your back home best friend to talk about your new best friend in your new city. It's very much
Yeah,
that. Like, I have a best friend of like 12 years who, even if I think I'm tripping, I call and I'm like, am I wrong? Or is this person tripping?
yeah.
Like, it's important to have those people that you trust and respect, and they trust and respect you because they're always going to have your best interests at heart. And I think that is what has helped, because even if I'm all over the place, I know exactly who to call if I need some sort of grounding.
I love that. And I think it is super important to have those people that will check you no matter what. Even, you have to have people that will look at you objectively, even if they love you like unconditionally, right?
Exactly. Exactly. No yes men.
Yeah,
and i'm
no,
and I'm
that's a
someone
dope.
that's crazy, so I really be needing people to be like, girl, rein it in.
No, it's that self-awareness, which is like, yeah, it's good to have that, to know that and have that. So I'm glad that you do have that support system.
Yeah.
Do you ever find those relationships manifesting in your artwork?
Yes, because I'm someone that believes that I don't want to sound so like moon and the starsy, but I genuinely live, breathe art, and it's reflected in my relationships. I don't work with people that I don't respect on a cellular level or think that we can use this as a catalyst to become family essentially. One of my really, really good friends who's like a mentor and older sister to me, who I've been friends with for like 9 years, I randomly reached out to do my NTS radio show with me. I was just like, I think your sound is sick. This is what I think needs to be at the forefront. And I can tell there's a synergy here. And I really do believe that art is such a sacred thing that if you are really channeling an energy or pulling from something authentic, you can connect with people through that. So a lot of my relationships stem from art, and a lot of the people that are in my life are collaborators, either long term, new, or just someone that I know you have something to say, you have something to share, and I'm interested in the way you're going to do that.
No, I think that's amazing. I can relate in a way because I feel like some of the friendships and relationships that I've built over like the past 10 years have been because of my love of art. And even if it, or people I've encountered through making my own art or interviewing them about their art or speaking to them about their art. And some of like my best friends, they are people I met because I like DM'd them because I like the song, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
And
I
that's
can
why
definitely
it
relate.
it really bothers me when I see young artists say things like, I don't have any community. These niggas want me to be on their dick. Da, 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 da. I'm so sorry. To an extent, you have to be okay being a fan. You know, like there are so many of my friends who I was a genuine fan of before anything. And I didn't expect anything from them. I just thought it was cool that they were being authentic in the way that they expressed themselves in this world. And that was enough for me. Like, okay, you're a real nigga. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Exactly, exactly. I hate that being a fan of somebody is demonized and people are just like, oh, you're dick riding or you're glazing. It's like, nah, I think I enjoy being a fan of my friends, right? I love going to a concert
Exactly.
and being like, I know that person and they're fucking killing this stage right now, and this is a sick experience. Like, there's a beauty in showing up for people and supporting them wholeheartedly, and that's what being a fan of someone is. And I don't know if it's
Exactly.
because people are also like the connotation of being a stan or being overboard with it, but
I
I don't
think
know.
it has to do with the lack of boundaries that some people have and like parasocial relationships. A lot of people feel a way about being viewed as a fan because they often, how do I explain it? There's something that they're expecting from that dynamic that they're not receiving. And that's what bothers them. It's rooted in some sort of like expectation that, oh, because I'm a fan of you, you need to be my friend. And it's like, that's not always the case. If that happens, amazing. But it's not always the case. And I do think, as much as people say, oh, we need to see like this type of music, we need to see this person at the forefront, people are not willing to do the work to platform that person. And I think that's what I enjoy about being a fan, because I've seen what is required, that you need to be part of that group in different cities that's talking about a person, that's helping them buzz, that's playing their music. Like those are things that I genuinely enjoy, because personally, I like to be at the forefront of good shit. I love to be the person that someone said, oh yeah, you was playing that S God and that Brazy since, you know? So
Yeah, yeah.
those are things that I actually find joy in, but it's not the case for everyone, unfortunately.
No, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I think because of how like invasive, let me say, social media has gone, it has really accelerated the parasocial relationships and that lack of boundaries between fan and artist. And you do have fans
Exactly.
that are super entitled and just, creepy and weird. So I get it, and why people wouldn't want to be lumped in with that. But at the same time, like we've been saying, there is something kind of beautiful about being there at the beginning of someone's journey, knowing that because of whatever you're doing, whether it's you're posting a song, you're actively telling people, you're sharing your theaters or whatever, you're helping them in their journey. And when you see them like on, people are like, yeah, you put me onto this person like 2 years ago. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. Duh. So I think it is a beautiful thing. And I hope, if you're listening to this, don't be afraid to be a fan. There's no shame in
Yeah.
it.
If you know you want to see, if you know you're dying for the quality that you want at the forefront, be that person's fan. It's simple.
Exactly. Exactly. Take charge yourself and help put that person on.
exactly.
How did you get started in DJing? I'm really curious to know.
Um, so before DJing, I was a art curator, an event curator, and I needed a DJ. So I started booking myself. And prior to that, I had been doing these very bad 30-minute mixes on some software. I didn't even have a deck. I was just downloading songs that I liked, and I swear it was start, stop, like from the hook of one song to the bridge. Like it was terrible. And I told myself, you know what? If I had the equipment to do this, I know it would sound fire. So I did hair every single day for a summer. It was braids, it was faux locks, it was I was making wigs, you name it. It was someone coming out of my house all the time. Took that bag, went to Best Buy, got a MacBook, got my Serato Newmark Mix Track Pro, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this. That's it. And I did one art show. I did me and my friend used to curate. Her name was Anissa, and I think I DJ'd like 3 of our events. And then after that, someone was like, I loved what you did at the Root or whatever our show was. Do you want to come do that? And it went from DC to Baltimore to New York to London, and it just kept going.
I think if you're wondering who Jess is as a person, that story kind of encapsulates it. Booking yourself is crazy already, but then the
Yeah,
hustle, I love it. I love it. Where you're just like, no matter what, I'm just gonna make this shit happen. And I think that's amazing.
thank
Was
you.
there a particular like show or moment where you're like, oh yeah, like I'm on, like I'm a DJ now?
It wasn't a live show, but my homie Marvelito, he's from New York. He's a DJ that like honestly heard about me through the grapevine and was just like, you need to be in New York. And so he booked me for something, and then he had me do a radio show for his platform with his friends called Like That Records. And that radio show did numbers. And so I sent that, I think, to NTS. I think I was just like, y'all need to have me on the radio. Like, I'll do a one-off show. Did the one-off show. There was like, come to a residency. I was like, exactly. Like, so I was kind of dominating radio more than in person. I'm also a bit anti is not the word. I realize now that behavior was due to anxiety, but I was not someone that liked to be outside. So radio was very fun and very safe. And yeah, I think that's low key what kind of gave me that little bit of buzz.
Okay, I love that. And I guess on the flip side of that, what are like some of the growing pains that you encountered? Because I imagine just starting out on a DJ journey, you're gonna have some difficulties.
Yeah, it was, you know what? There were a lot of factors. Um, Colorism was one. If you're someone who is quite opinionated, I learned very early that there are things that people want to hear from a woman that is light skinned with 3A hair that they don't want to hear from you. And so it was a lot of politics. It was realizing that I'm not into substances. The amount of times I've been offered cocaine for killing a set is out of this world. It was things that
Crazy.
I realized on an internal level, I may not align with nightlife, but I still love music. So I had to find a way to make it work for me. So if that means showing up 15 minutes before my set and leaving as soon as I'm done to avoid whatever bullshit is likely to occur, that's just what I'm going to do. Um, and then there was like skills and like a technical gap, like even learning CDJs. A friend of mine, her name is Chloe D. She's a DJ from London. When I went to London the first time to DJ, she was like, you can't use this controller. This is not club standard. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not rich. I can't afford a $2,500 tech setup. But she took me to this studio called Roundhouse, and we were there for maybe like 2 days. I learned CDJs in 2 days, played a set that weekend. Like it was little stuff like that that I didn't even realize, oh, there's people who have this shit in their house. No wonder they're excellent. No wonder they're getting booked every other day. There were just things I
Yeah.
wasn't aware of. And as I became aware, I was like, okay, this is a bit daunting. But I think one thing I learned is I can set a new standard. I don't really have to do things how people do or follow the same track record or et cetera, et cetera.
I love that. And thank you for just providing that insight as well.
Of
I
course.
mean, we kind of see it, with the colorism and how it just manifests in who blows up as DJs and things like that. But it's always good to get that insider look, especially when like you said, not even knowing that you need like a CDJ and knowing that
Exactly.
these are the standards that other people have already kind of met because they have the funds or whatever to just pick it up and do it.
Exactly.
Does it irritate you because I feel like DJing is one of those things where people are just like, oh, I can make a sick playlist so I can be a DJ. And I'm someone that thinks DJing is like a real art form, like because I know what it's like to be out and how a bad DJ can fuck up a whole night and how a
Yeah.
great DJ can elevate a whole night. And it's something almost like spiritual because you're literally controlling like the energy of an entire room and hundreds of people. And I look at it as like a really serious art form. But there's people who just like, yeah, my playlists are cool. My friends love it when I'm on the aux. So I'm gonna DJ. And I just wonder like what are your thoughts on that?
You know what my thoughts are? There are definitely some DJs where I'm like, bro, you could have just applied to Spotify for a fucking job being a playlist curator. But I'm not here to stop anybody's bag. I just, it's going to sound a little bit fucked up, but I personally don't believe that anyone who's like a matchbox artist in any capacity or who's just doing anything is going to last. So beyond what I just said, I don't think about them. I just, some of these names I'm seeing on lineups, I'm just like, I'll give it maybe a year. No shade. Let's see if you
No,
even,
yeah,
let's see if you even care, because I've met, one thing about me is like I DJ, but then I also do programming. So I've had to book DJs, and some of these people will not last because of their ego. You got people who picked up decks 4 months ago who want to be direct support for 3 bands. It's not adding up. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's a disconnect within the industry because of these people, but I have faith that they will wither themselves out. That's what happens in any industry, honestly.
It's true. It's true. The chop kind of blows itself away. So yeah,
Yeah.
that I love that.
I can't even waste
Uh,
the brain space.
I mean, truly, like someone in your position, there is no real need, I guess, to worry yourself or think about it. Because, like I said, you even do programming. So
Yeah.
it's also, you're in a position to help elevate DJs, I guess, that might not traditionally be elevated because of whatever factor,
Yes.
whether it's like how they look or their background or, things like that.
Exactly.
So
And that's
I think
another
that's really
thing.
cool.
For me, I'm of the mind that rather than complaining about a system, I'm just going to build the one that I want to see. Like I have DJ, Discourse, CDJ, Record Box. These are all things that pertain to DJing muted on Twitter because I don't want to even see what y'all have to say. I'm just going to book the person that I know actually is killing it and has something to say sonically. Maybe that has to do with their ethnic background. Maybe it has to do with their lived experience. But like, I'm very intentional about the people that I put forward for stuff, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. You have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think everyone is going to take it as seriously as you do, but I love the fact that you do take it that seriously because you should. I think everyone should just care about their craft to a certain level and not just go through the motions.
Right.
Before my next question, or it's not really a question, it's more of a prompt. I just want to give you your flowers. Jess is a sick ass DJ, guys. If you ever see her in a lineup, go check her out. I can guarantee you're gonna hear something brand new and be like, I need to Shazam this secretly. She's gonna play songs that you probably love that you think nobody else is listening to as well. So yeah, let me give you your flowers one time. Actually, no, I
Thank
do
you.
have one more question. How did you come with your DJ name?
I'll be so real. This name was bestowed on me.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I was in a group chat and I said something just really offhanded. And a friend was like, "You're such a cunt." And then she literally was like, "I'm changing your name on my phone to Jessica." And I was like, it kind of has a ring to it.
Say that one more
And
time.
right? Like, and then for me, I love people that are polarizing their own person. And my favorite thing about that name is the first couple of times I went to London and was doing guest radio, they were like, we can't say that on the air. Like, that is a terrible word here. And I was just like, well, you're either going to bill me as such or I'm not doing this shit. So, what are we talking about? So yeah, I feel like it adds to my lore. I think it's also reflective of the kind of person that I am.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
it's very fitting. I think it's a hard ass name. It's
thank
very
you.
fitting. Shout out to the friend that bestowed it upon you. Now, could you give myself and the listeners some of your best etiquette tips for interacting with a DJ at the function?
That little shit that y'all do, we are like, play blank. Stop. Stop. Requests, period. Stop. Because a good DJ is there to introduce you to things. Like, people forget that our job was to break records. Baby, I'm not here to
Yes.
play. I'm not here to run through your shower playlist. It's not about you. Okay, like, it's about the collective. And yeah, that's it. Just let the master do what they're doing. Unless they're really just garbage and really not paying attention to the energy that's occurring in the room, because it is an exchange, it's give and it's take. But other than that, just let people do what they're gonna do.
Okay, that's a really good one. Because yeah, I know that's the new thing. Play with the iPhone sideways. I
Yeah.
can only the thing is, once I got the opportunity to like be in the booth with friends that were DJing, you realize like there's so much stimuli coming at you. It's insane.
They're trying to
Like
make
they're not
sure the baddie that's to your left doesn't spill her drink on the decks, because then party's
yes.
done. And, you don't want to be rude. You don't want to kill the vibe because everybody's like,
Yeah,
it's a
someone's
lot.
blowing smoke in your face on the other side.
They might
Someone
even
the
have,
photographer has a light in your face. Like
yeah, it's too much. And that's why
it's a lot.
some people have said that they thought it was rude of me. Sometimes I have the stage cleared before I get on. Please, if I don't know you, exit stage left, because I can't handle that.
No, no,
I don't
that's
know.
just maintain some space. Let's maintain
Yeah,
a little calm in
yeah.
the chaos.
And if you're an MC or host, whoever, we don't need to hear your voice for every transition. I mean,
Yo,
you're
talk to
talking
them.
70% of the track, bro. Who is hearing that?
Talk to them, please. I hate an
Cut it, cut it,
overzealous
cut it.
MC.
Oh yeah,
We're not here to.
I had to tell someone to cut this dude's mic, and he thought that that was so offensive, bro. It's jarring. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like, please, every single track you're shouting, ladies, let it breathe.
You
Like,
know?
oh, man, that's a good one. That's a good one. And
Yeah.
I need to go back to what you said about it's a DJ's job to break records because we have gotten away from that severely.
Yeah.
Usually, like, I don't even go out as much as I used to, but like, even on a night out, I probably have two or three songs and I'm like, these are hits or in my rotation, and I hope the DJ plays them. Beyond
Right.
that, I don't care. Just make sure whatever you're playing is fire. And
Exactly.
it goes back to what you were saying about some people where it's like, might as well just work for like Spotify and do rap caviar. Because all you're playing is Boss Man D'Lo into a sexy red. You'll give us Joanna, maybe
You
a
know?
yay.
And you know what? I do want to go back and say that it's not that these people aren't tastemakers in their own way, because no shade to consumers, there are very basic consumers where that is
That is
mind
real.
boggling for them. So, everybody has a lane, get it how you can.
That's a good point as well because yeah, the general population probably is hoping to just hear bangers that they know and can sing along to
Yeah.
and dance to and those type of, so that is very true. But I know I'm the type of person that just enjoys, like, I love hearing something new and be like, who the fuck is that? Like, what did you just play? Or when you're mixed,
Exactly.
my favorite is just getting two things mixed in a new way. And I'm really curious, like, what's the process of creating a mix like for you? How do you, I feel like there's so many moving parts that go into making a really good mix. And I'm really curious as to like how you embark on that journey.
I think I start by, I listen to, I might play and cycle through songs that I've really been enjoying over the past maybe like a month. And that could be anything that's on SoundCloud, Bandcamp, like any sonic media that I've been consuming. and I try to see if there's a through line, whether that's in the energy of the beats or the BPM or maybe even language or genre. And from there, I start weaving. Um, and then sometimes, and that's if it's for like a commission. Like I did that when I had a mix for Office Magazine. But sometimes, I mean, most of the time, I just freestyle. Like my live sets are just like, I don't even, sometimes I walk in, they're like, oh, what are you going to play? I'm like, girl, I don't know. Whenever I
That's
plug
so
this
sick.
USB in, the first song that gives me the ginger is what I'm going to play. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I think for mixes, it's definitely like, okay, I want the girls to dance. We're going to give them an island vibe. We're going to give them this. And I might like, and I try to like also make it historical. So if I'm playing like dance hall or something or bashment, I might now play drum and bass or jungle because it's a sound that derived from this in a different part of the world, if that makes sense. So it's like
Yeah.
it's educational, it's spiritual, it's meant to make people dance, and that's just like the main pillars that I consider. So as long as I'm doing that, the mix is complete.
Is it hard to just go in and freestyle where, because again, you have to know like, okay, I'm gonna stop it here and bring this in and run this back and all that type of shit. Like,
Honestly,
how,
no. And it's actually fun. I love a challenge because I hate a DJ that I know exactly the next song they're going to play. Bro, it's trying to switch those crates. Why do you even
yeah,
have that same crate? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I like, sometimes I'm even sweating. Like, there might be 45 seconds of a track of, I'm like, what's next? But
That's
like,
what I'm talking about. Like
you
in that
know,
moment, I just feel like it would be so intense.
no, because that's when like the actual freaky, weird shit happens that I want to happen. Like, why am I playing Playboy Cardi's Location over Odunsi, um, the song that he has with that girl Siri? Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's
Yeah,
because I'm trying to like you got they're really on this journey with me as we're locating this vibe. Like, you know what I mean? So I prefer that.
but that's cool as hell that it literally is like a journey. Because that's how, if I'm listening to a mix, right, that's how I'm visualizing it, where it's, yeah, you're really trying to take me on all these different, you're trying to put me on like, you can tell when someone's trying to put you onto a particular genre. We're going to go through the history of this particular sound today. Or when someone's like in a, like you said, I just want the girls to dance, like that type of vibe. So I love that you're able to kind of, you just make it up as you go,
Yeah.
which again kind of speaks to your general like creative practice.
Yeah, honestly, I don't like to feel like, and honestly, I have conversations with people who want to book me. Like, there's someone I'm DMing right now. It's just like, are there sonic parameters? Because I play what I want and I don't play top 40. As long as that's established, we're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, no, no, I can confirm you will have a blast. It's going to be great. You've worked with some artists that are really incredible. I think you work with Baby Mother, who I think
Yeah,
is
I love
still to
her.
this day one of the greatest rappers alive. Like, oh my God,
That
she's
pen,
so talented. It's unreal. It's
that pen is crazy.
unreal.
And I want to
And
even, I want to pause and give her her flowers because she is an artist who I have been listening to since I was in 11th grade. Like
oh
I was in
wow.
high school ignoring the fuck out of what my teacher was saying, listening to her and her early random cuts with a producer called LSDXOXO. Like, so then years later to have her have me DJ a few of her parties, I'm like, you don't even realize what this means to
No,
adolescent me, you
that's so
know?
crazy. Yeah, yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
amazing
she's
that you're able to
incredible.
do that though.
And that's what happens when you're a true fan.
See, again, there's no shame in being a fan, like at all, because you never know where it's going to take you. And I think that
Exactly.
is great. I want to give her flowers as well because man, she's so underrated. We have such a stupid industry because in any sense of industry, she'd be like one of the biggest artists out. Just how she's able to, the way she plays with the English language is just insane.
Yes.
I got hip to her maybe like 5, 6 years ago. And yo, I'm every time she drops something, I'm always impressed. She's someone that like I'll buy her music, just because
Yes.
I respect how hard she goes.
And what you said is another thing I respect about her is like she has shown me what it means to be an autonomous artist. Her Twitter is fucking private, but if she drops something on Bandcamp, it's selling. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
she showed me I don't need to put all my music on streaming. Like I can cultivate a fan base. If I want to sell a 5-track EP for $30, niggas are gonna buy it, you know?
they will. They will.
I just have admired, like you said, the pen, the wordplay is insane. Like
It's
it's
crazy.
crazy. So
It's
I'm
crazy.
glad that I mean, but I already know that you know balls, so that makes sense.
And I also want to give a big shout out because I know last year you got to DJ with Kalela, and that was, I know, a spiritual experience for you. So if you want to sort of talk about that, how it came together, and then just what it meant to you to be in that moment.
I'm not gonna lie, it came together because so there's a DJ, my homie Chris, his name is Native Son. You might know Native Son from DC. And
The name is
he's
familiar, yeah.
he's part of a collective called Black Rave Culture, but he is someone who like has honestly supported and championed me in the scene since I started, especially as a Black woman, like playing the type of music that I play. And so I know that he's been cool with that camp. And I have been in communication with her team for like other activations, just through other projects. But I'm not gonna lie, one day I woke up and I saw that she followed me and I was like, what the fuck? Okay. I was already following you, girl. So that shit doesn't say follow. And then I went to my messages and she was like, hey, I'm throwing a party for Raven in DC. Would you be down to play? I was like, girl. And then you just scroll up and you see every message that I sent her prior to that being like, I love you so much. Like, what? Um, but yeah, it was that simple. And since then, you know, like she's been really sweet. She's someone that I hope to work with one day again. Cough, cough. But yeah, that just meant to me that I am on the right track. You know, I think as a young woman working in this industry, it's very easy to feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to. So I'm always hyper vigilant of those moments of confirmation like, no, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The people that you respect also respect you. Like, you know, you're not wasting your energy or your life force by pursuing this. So it felt like a full circle moment, honestly.
That sounds like, something that must have been really just fulfilling on a very deep, deep level. I'm glad you got to have that experience. I think that's so cool. And also sort of the casual, because that is how she would ask, right? Just call you,
Yeah,
DM you, just no pomp and
literally.
circumstance. Just yeah, come and
And you
DJ my
know,
party.
I really feel like I've seen her a couple times. Like I did one of her music videos, and after a few times that I would see her, she was like, "I remember you. From where?" I'm like, "Girl, I was in your music video. What?" But it's like she meets a million people every day, so of course she doesn't remember that. But it's just like there were moments that led up to that, and I was just like, "Yeah, this was meant to happen." And to be on to the, I mentioned spiritual fortitude earlier. You know, I'm a believer that you cannot hold or receive certain things if you're like holding on to bullshit. And I got that call maybe weeks after I had a terrible fallout with someone that I was friends with for like 11 years. And I had wrestled with that relationship for so long. And I just said to myself, you know what? This is causing some kind of spiritual holdup in my life. I'm really just officially going to let that go. And when I say my life opened up, I was like, when God wants you to release something, you need to release it, like, end of, you know? So it felt special for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, yeah. I think that concept of just being able to let things, it's really hard as human beings to let certain things go, to let certain people go, relationships, whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
I think, when you know yourself and your gut and everything is telling you it's time to move on and move forward, you just have to trust that. And you
Yeah.
did, and it worked. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful to see.
Thank you.
Near the end of last year, I got a text from you, and you wanted me to listen to some music. And I have to say, first of all, super honored. I'm always honored when people ask me to listen to their music because, that's a super, especially when it's in the I'm still creating a phase. Making music is mad personal. So, I appreciated that. And I listened to it and I was actually very impressed with what I heard. I know it's still in the works, but I was like, oh shit, like Jess has some shit cooking here. And it's like, there's some rapping going on, but there's also some, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I feel like you might be trying to evade genre on purpose. And I feel like just by nature of who you are, it's hard to define any genre, but you're getting rap elements as maybe like the bass, and then
Yeah.
you're just flipping everything on its head sound wise and sonically. So when did you start getting that itch that, yeah, I need to start making my own music? And what's that been like?
You know, the first time I actually made music was in high school with my best friend. And we dropped a mixtape where we were saying the most ridiculous and most inflammatory things known to man. And she was getting ready to cross as an AK in college, wiped it from the internet, as she should have, because God forbid people hear the things we were saying on there.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm used, and I'm a
Fine.
very like verbose person. I'm ruled by Mercury. Like I have things to say, and I think I'm good at saying it. But I realized when I say things, it affects people in either a good way or a bad way. And unfortunately, I've decided to exploit that. I was like, I'm either going to do a podcast or I'm going to do music because that was the first thing I really wanted to do. And podcasts have terrible PR right now. So I was like, you know what? I know mad producers. Like,
Thanks for that.
no, seriously. And I feel like if you're someone that's doing fresh and fit, it's just like, okay, nigga, turn the mic off. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
You
yes.
know? And so I was like, I know mad producers, and shout out to Tochi Bedford. When I pop, I'm buying that nigga car. You know why? Because he is one of the few producers that I know personally that actually wanted to send me something. No, actually, all shade to everybody else listening to this. Like, I respect that he didn't need me to prove something. He just gave me beats off the strength. I'm like, that's crazy because you literally produce hits for superstars. Like,
Facts,
what?
facts.
So that's not something that I take lightly. And yeah.
Gotta give Tochi a shout out, former guest of Bridging the Gap. Go check out his new single, Boss Up. Shout out to
Yep.
Tochi, man.
Shout
He's a
out
great guy. And
Touch.
yeah, I love the fact that he has no like pretense, about his
Yeah.
art. He just fucks with people that are trying to do their own thing. And I'm so glad that he did lock in with you because he's a great producer as well. And from what I was hearing, you're really attacking the stuff he's sending you and really trying
Thank
to do
you.
it justice. So is there any more you can kind of share about like what could be coming this year musically? Do you have any timelines there? Or are you still just like ideating?
I'm not gonna lie, that over there, that mess was a
Oh
brief
yeah.
whatever. And in true Jessica nature, I'm going to abandon all of that and just drop things as I feel because as someone who's worked with artists and seen how they can drive themselves insane with deadlines and impossible meet things to meet up, I'm just gonna be organic about it. I have a show February 18th at Jupiter Disco here in New York. And I'm going to DJ the first maybe 35 and then perform for the rest. And like, I'm going to do singles. I'm going to do a couple features that I have. But I feel like because I already have a platform as a DJ, why not just use the space? And I don't always want to be the person who's like performing during their set. But I think for now, it makes sense to help create the world that I want people to, or how do they explain it? They say like there's something called subliminal, is it like subliminal identity or subliminal messaging, where it's like the things about you as an artist and the things you're trying to communicate that you don't say overtly. And so that's what I'm weaving right now, my subliminal
Oh yeah,
messaging,
I get that. I get that.
you
So
know?
like, yeah, because once you're rapping during your own set, right? And as they're seeing it, they're getting comfortable with the idea of you holding that mic and rapping. But they're also already
Exactly.
like they already have that baseline comfort of you DJing. So it's just kind of incorporating that next level. Then if they see you without the decks, they're not gonna be like, what the fuck is going on? They'll be like, oh yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
I
So
like
it's
that
just like
approach.
it's just leading people.
That's really sick. And yeah, if you're in New York, get your ticks when Jess drops the link. It's gonna be a sick
Mhm,
show.
mhm.
Try to give me the inside info. You heard it here first. So please pull up.
Exactly.
I
Yeah, we
think you're
better pull up.
really you're like in the spirit today because you've preempted a few of my questions, and I always ask my guests for advice for the listeners, and kind of what you were talking about, where it's like artists really well and how they can get overwhelmed and how they can get stressed and how they can just drive themselves crazy basically. And
Yeah.
I was gonna ask if you could give advice for people who might be juggling multiple creative practices and they might be struggling right now with balancing crafts or whatever. How can they sort of stay grounded and not get too overwhelmed and essentially just like not drive themselves crazy trying to do all these different things?
Right. I think the best thing to do is, and it's going to sound so silly and basic, but the best thing to do is what you can do. I don't drive myself insane with what I may perceive to be quote unquote. I mean, it's not that anything's impossible, but like, I think every artist, even if you don't have a budget, there's a certain level of quality that you want to provide that you may not be able to. And so rather than getting, and this is from like a Nikki Giovanni poem called Choices, rather than getting caught up in what you can't do or what you don't want to do, just don't do that one thing, if that makes sense. Like, if I feel like, ugh, I want to I want to press out 50 vinyls, but I can't, I'm not going to give up on that idea completely. I'm going to do 25 CDs, or maybe I'll do 15 USBs. It's like, don't like follow that one step at a time, but don't get so caught up in the details needing to match exactly what you predicted that you don't move at all. Because I see that a lot, and we can always fix it later. You can do that 50 vinyl release 6 months from now, but you're not going to be able to do that if you don't drop the CDs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Because I think even like on a personal level, I think with this podcast, even I got into a state of mind like last year where I was like, everything needs to kind of be perfect before I can continue again because I just had so many different things going on.
Right.
But I think there was even a point you might have tweeted a thread back when I was still on Twitter, kind of saying similar things what you're saying, where it's like you can't wait for the perfect conditions. And I always just kind of kept that in the back of my mind, and I was like, okay, as soon as I get X, Y, and Z, like I'm just diving back into it, and I'll figure everything else out. And I think it's really
Exactly.
important to just start, like you said. If you have an idea and you can't execute, start and try and figure out how can I maybe minimize the scale of it while still keeping the same spirit. And
Exactly.
it's really important to not stop. I feel like once you've started as an artist, what kills you is stopping, especially in your early stages. As long as you can try and keep putting out something and giving people something and maintaining forward momentum, that is going to help at least maintain your craft and keep you alive. But once you just stop, it's really hard to start back up again because you also have to get your audience interested again and things like that. And it's
Exactly.
hard if you don't have those things a really solid foundation in place. So yeah, if you're listening, that's some great advice from Jess where, you know, just start and make sure you at least try and put some form of your idea forward and get practice executing that. And you start
Exactly.
small, eventually you're gonna end up big.
You know who's an artist that I want to shout out real quick who
Please.
embodies that bare maximum mindset? Is Chi Virgo. She dropped the Virgo, but I look at her and she's always talking about like, ugh, like the budget isn't budgeting, da, da, da. But I'm like, girl, those visuals are sick because you're doing the most with what you've got. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't think that way, you know?
And the thing is, if you look at like some of the stuff she puts out, you wouldn't know that the budget isn't budgeting, right? Like it looks done up to professional standard. And I think that's the
Exactly.
important thing. A lot of this is illusion, guys. A lot of artists that you might think are doing they've mastered the art of making things look great with what they have. It's not necessarily that they have the biggest budgets in the world or
Exactly.
cosigns or whatever. They're just working with what they have. And that's always the mentality I feel like you need to keep close to you as an artist and a creative person.
100%.
So Jess, we're coming to the end of our conversation. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. I do want to give you an opportunity to just shout out like where people can find you and find your work, and then let us know, what's coming in the pipeline for 2025 so we can stay tuned?
You guys, honestly, I'm gonna be a little bit weird with the socials this year, not gonna lie, while I'm preparing to debut. My Twitter may or may not even be up when you guys listen to this, but it's Jessica Cunt on Twitter with 2 N's, no U. And on Instagram, I'm Jessica Cunt with an underscore, no U. And honestly, this year, I'm giving the girls true multidisciplinary artists. My biggest inspiration is MIA. That is someone who has married her voice with her imagery and her story in a way that I think is extremely unique. Like, this is a collage of my portraits. Like, this is stuff that I imagine being merch, you know? So,
It's
all the
tough.
pieces are here, and you guys are going to see it soon.
Super excited. I literally can't wait to see how you're going to marry all these things together. I'm looking forward to seeing the world that you're building as it continues to grow. Because I think that's one of the first things we even talked about, right? Just world building. And
Mhm.
you've built a really deep and rich creative world. And I'm just looking forward to like the next iteration and evolution of everything. So
Thank
again,
you.
thank you for joining me. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh,
And
thank you.
when you're shutting down festivals and touring the world, we'll do another one, and we'll catch up and see how
Exactly.
we'll see how things have changed a bit.
Honestly, I can't wait. I really can't wait. Thank you so much for providing this platform. Thank you for doing your research, because the number one thing I hate is a quote unquote journalist who has no idea who the subject is, but you made this feel very, it was like a conversation, with a friend that has context. And I really appreciate that.
I'm glad you said that. That's what I try and like provide here, just a safe space where people can really talk, and making sure like the foundation's already been laid so we can dive into the work. So thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate it. Thank you
You
guys.
are
See you
so
on the next
welcome.
episode.